would work in a grid down situation. So for whatever reason, let's say it's an EMP. Everybody loves to talk about the EMPs. Or perhaps a coronal mass ejection, or a cyber attack on the grid, or whatever. And in the United States, all power production has ceased. Will satellite phones still work? Well, the short answer is no. But let me try to explain a little bit better why that is. There seems to be, I got into a discussion with a guy on our Facebook group the other day. It's called Prepper Skills. If you guys are interested in joining it, please do. We always like to have discussions on there, stuff like that, if you do Facebook. The question was asked, will satellite phones still work after the grid goes down? And I said, no, they won't. And another guy was talking, and he's like, yeah, they will. He's trying to explain that the sat phone makes a connection to the satellite, and that satellite routes the call to the other satellite straight to the other phone. And unfortunately, that's just not correct. And I don't know why people think that, but the satellite communication system, Iridium, and what's the other one's name? They're commercial. They're commercial. Inmarsat, I think. They are commercial companies, and so there's a lot of things that have to happen for a call to go through. And I'll try to throw up a graphic here that kind of explains some of how it works. It doesn't actually cover all of it, but it does give a fairly good representation of what happens. When you first make the call, the satellite phone does read where the satellites are and what satellites it can get reception from. That's a true statement. But what ends up happening is, as soon as your terminal or your hand unit makes contact with the satellite, it's going to have to authenticate that unit is an active unit with an active account that is turned on and can be paid. It does that authentication with a ground relay terminal that is on the ground through various different places throughout the world. And so if the power is out and the grid is down everywhere else, the ground relay terminal will not be able to respond and authenticate to the sat phone, to the satellite, to tell it that the sat phone is cleared to make communications. There's also a lot of other communication that happens with the satellites as far as positioning goes, as far as knowing where the other satellites are, and in relation to where the ground is, so that they can communicate with the different units and stuff. There's a whole lot of math and everything that goes into that, and it's way beyond my head. But the bottom line is that authentication has to happen, and it not only happens between the first phone. Let's say we'll go two different examples here. On the first example, let's say your sat phone, you're going to get authenticated, and that's an active unit. Okay, so it says, all right, we're going to go ahead and route the call through these other satellites, and then let's say that you're going to be calling a landline, trying to get a hold of somebody. Okay, well, if the grid's down, that's not going to work either, because when that satellite phone goes down to the ground relay terminal, and then it has to shoot that message from the relay terminal to the switching station for the switch for the landline. Okay, well, all that's power's down, so that's not going to work. So that's option one. It's no good. So what about going to another handset, another sat phone handset? Well, once the other handset.
Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory, honor that is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, B'kakwadash. I'd like to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noise in this gospel broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is just a quick lesson through the spirit. The brother Amun Gabar put up this says, with satellite phones work during the EMP/grid down scenario. And long story short, basically the guy was going into how it can work, but it's still possible that these things could be outed, because eventually when the grid does shut down, eventually all types of communication will be halted, will cease to exist. Okay, they even mentioned that even with certain cell phones, like you may have like particular satellite that your phone may be able to pick up on and tap it to the particular cells, but overall when things go down, gradually things will be non-existent. Okay, the best chance you have in this type of scenario is if you have one of those military walkie-talkies, or you have one of those what you call like those satellite phones that the military already have, like a satellite radio, when you can radiate signals from particular satellites, and what do you call fiber optics, because also satellites that point towards the sky, you got fiber optics that run like underground too, like your Wi-Fi and shit like that. You get that through what they call fiber optics, okay, which is basically lines that they drill underground, and they connect these things through these particular underground satellites, if that make any sense. Like the ocean floor, like a lot of the internet or the World Wide Web, they run these big fiber optic cables on the ocean floor or the bed of the ocean, and this is how they're able to communicate globally through these particular banks and communications and stuff like that. But basically the military, they're gonna have things that appears to be working, because they're gonna have their communications, they're gonna have their walkie-talkies, they're gonna have their particular satellite radios, which they have access to technology 30 years before we even realize that it's even remotely existed, man. So with that being said, man, I think something big is getting ready to go down. As the last lesson I went into, going into the eruption of the New Madrid fault line, which sits at the Boot Hill of Missouri. If that does erupt, then they said that life will possibly be uninhabitable in St. Louis, parts of Memphis and Arkansas, and also we'll feel that shit here in Kansas City as well. It caused some damage out here as well. But regardless of it, man, the EMP shit hit the fan scenario. You got an election year, which this guy Joe Biden is planning on staying in office again for another 4 years. So we gonna see how that's gonna work. But me personally, I don't really see an election. I know we've said this several times, but I don't really see the election going, or I could see something happening, or some type of civil war can break off. But regardless of it, they have to move quick, man, because things are getting ready to come down the pipe. And 2024 may just be the start of all hell breaking loose, man. Okay? So we have to wait and see. But anyway, I got a couple of precepts here. It wasn't going to be a long lesson, but going into the 3 days of darkness, because coincidentally, this eclipse that's getting ready to happen on the 8th. Also, we have a blood moon on the 25th of next month during the time of Passover. I mean, not next month, this month, next week. We have a blood moon that's supposed to be visible from 95% of America, man. But I looked at the news forecast, and basically he's gonna cloud seed, so we ain't gonna be able to see it here. But regardless, that eclipse that's taking place on the 8th, I believe that's gonna be an open phenomenon for everybody to see. So I found out that during this time of Exodus, the 10th chapter, 21st verse, that was the same time that the Lord brought the plagues, is the same time that this eclipse is coming, around that same particular time frame. Okay, because I can't say day, because you didn't have April 8th during the time of Egypt, man. Okay, they didn't go off days like that, or these particular or these particular days of the week. Okay, they go off time frames and seasons. Okay, which we're in the time of the Passover. But this is the book of Exodus 10 and 21, and it says, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thy hand towards heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt." Okay, and it says darkness that can be felt, going into those apparitions, because when you read farther into the story, it says that the Most High he plagued them by sending evil angels among them, meaning the Lord was sending demons among these people, man. Okay, so with that being said, man, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man, he's nothing to be played with, man. He's to be feared, and feared greatly, because he's getting ready to really shake the foundation of this world. Finally, man. All the games and funds and games that you Israelites are playing, man, hey, the Lord is not fucking playing anymore. And it reads, it says, "And Moses stretched forth his hands towards heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days," man. And this is why everybody is talking about blackouts, EMP, grid outages. Like our grid, hey, that's for one thing, the grid is overloaded. Okay, you have too many residents, you have too much shit going on an already weak and fragile power grid. So when it shuts off due to some type of EMP strike or Esau pulls the plug, whichever comes first, people are gonna lose their minds, man, because food is gonna be scarce. Okay, they're not gonna have access to their electronics, their televisions, their games. Even if they get hit with an EMP, the fucking batteries of the cars are gonna be fried, man. So, hey, you ain't going nowhere unless you got a car from the 1800s. So it's safe to say that you're gonna be pretty much stuck. Okay, people gonna be driving on highways. They're gonna be in the middle of the rural areas. I mean, you gotta put this real life thing in scenario, this into a real life scenario. Okay, just people traveling over the interstates, going from state to state. You know, you stranded 400 miles from your house in a different state you don't know nothing about. You know, and it's just gonna be a all-out panic attack on these people because they're not ready for that. Okay, these people are completely dependent on the system, and they're very complacent. You know, like most people don't even know about satellite phones, and most people don't think to get satellite phones or to get radio walkie-talkies and stuff like that. You know, like I tell the brothers in the camp, man, get y'all radios ready, man. You know, because it's gonna come a time that we're not gonna have this communication, we're not gonna have this technology, we're not gonna have these cell phones. You know, Jacob's Trouble, you on the run with a fucking cell phone in your hand, they can track that shit. You gotta get rid of it, man. You know, then the Lord, he may still allow it to work to get in contact with certain brothers, you know. Somehow, some way, we gonna be in contact. But regardless of that, man, the grid, everything is getting ready to shut down. Okay? We just have to wait and see. And it says, and they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwelling places, man. Okay? So, hey, on this side, there's gonna be the elect. Okay? We're gonna have light in our dwelling, which our light will be Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. Okay? But the rest of these people, they're going to be in gross darkness. Because not only that, there's been a strange wave of cosmic activity from chariot sightings to demons to ghosts, whatever you want to call them, spirits. There's been cosmic activities taking place on the planet Earth unlike any other. Okay? Because I remember back in 2021, I think in Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken, Esau was basically turned back on what they call the Hydro Collider, you know, which basically splits atoms at the speed of light, and it opens up these portals or wormholes to different dimensions. So it's easy to say that demons are among us, man, which they are in the form of these people, but you're gonna also have apparitions that's gonna appear out of the blue. You know, something you may think is a person down the road and be a fucking apparition in your living room, man. You know, and I've seen apparitions before. You know, I've seen them in my sleep. I've seen them dart through homes. I felt them, you know, so they're very real. And that's why it says here, a darkness that they can feel. You know, so you people, man, you ain't ready. All right? This is the book of Revelation 16, and I'm going to start at verses 10. It says, and the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongue for pain. Man, and this darkness is not only talking about darkness as far as like light wise, but meaning like the wickedness, the evil, you know, the death, the destruction. Okay, it says, and blaspheme Yahweh of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east may be prepared. And you notice this is happening right now. Okay, so when you go to verse 10, when it goes into the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, man. And it is darkness. I mean, like, you know, from the jab, people dying, you know, the crime rate, these migrants, you know, they're evicting migrants by the thousands now, which they are talking about is going to lead into all abrupt chaos or chaotic scenario, purge-like events in America, you know, and the list goes on. You see, and it says, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain. Okay, meaning the destruction is coming. You know, so you people, man, you're getting ready to get the sword put to you. But I'm gonna end it here, man, giving all praises and glory.